value stream 4, RPIW 1, first nurse review, and we've got Kath.
Yeah.
Kath, over to you. And you're oh, yeah.
Hi, my name is Kath Walters. I'm Senior Assistant of the Eye Clinic and Process Owner for this value stream, and it represents the patient's journey through the first nurse review. We have over 200 patients a day coming through our clinic, and everyone has a first nurse review where we check patients' vision and put eye drops in ready for them to see the consultant. During our processes, we have managed to reduce our staff walking distance by 17%. We made subtle changes to our working practices to reduce the waste in our processes and the wait times for the patients and consultants. So by having the instructions written in the notes by the doctors means that we don't have to keep interrupting that process to go and ask, does this patient need dilating, because all the information is already there. We had the lead time has been reduced by 57% because, again, of change of practice of the setup of our clinics in the morning. So now we make sure that the rooms are ready for the first patients so that we've got all the equipment to hand that we need. Again, reducing having to come out and come back in with the right equipment to continue. And the working process and the standard working processes, we have actually, it's remained the same at 15, which was our baseline, and at the moment our baseline for the SWIP is 5. We have managed now to reduce this to 2. We need to spend more time working on our quality defects, because some of the times that the patients are interrupted during their first nurse review is by other colleagues coming and asking if we have the keys to go and get the drugs out of the cupboard and the prescriptions and things. So one of the ways that we thought that we may be able to get around that was to move some of our cupboards to a different location where there wouldn't be interruptions.
Some of the quality defects, this is the number of times the nurses were interrupted or had to leave the room for equipment. That's been reduced by 66% since we started. That's because, as Kath said, cupboards are being moved, some of them not many interruptions. The number of times patients are asking for information about waiting times has been reduced by 34%. Part of this has been achieved by giving the patient more information during the first review. Also telling the patient what the process of their visit will follow. For example, you will be seen next by the photographer who will pass your notes to the consultant you will be seeing today.
Hi, I'm Simon Kolb. I'm one of the consultants in the eye clinic and a team member of the RPIW. So at the start of the process, I commented that sometimes in clinic I can be waiting about 45 minutes to actually see my first patient, which adds a big delay and a big backlog of patients when you've got to fit them all in that clinic slot. So I'm often playing catch-up, trying to see all the patients within the same time frame. But since we've started the RPIW and implemented these changes, my clinics have been drastically different. I start on time and I finish on time, and the patients aren't waiting anymore to see me in my clinic. And we've rolled these changes out across the clinic, and other consultants are commenting positively on the changes that we've done. So you can see some big changes there in the setup time. So things in clinic are now starting properly with all the equipment ready for the first nurse review. The quality defects have reduced, and that's in part due to things like moving the cupboards so nurses aren't interrupted. We've also implemented other standard things like Kanban cards for restocking, and those are out in use at the moment, and I've had positive comments about those. So clinicians aren't having to go and interrupt nursing staff whilst they're doing their first nurse review, delaying the pathway of the patient through to the clinic. We've implemented other things as well, so information to patients so they don't need to ask as many questions about delays, and just so they're set up a bit better with the knowledge of how the clinic works. we've reworded the clinic letters, so instead of appointment times, they're arrival times, just to better set the patient's expectations of what happens in clinic, so they're not asking about delays. We're using visual cues on the clinic whiteboards in the rooms, so in the clinic waiting area, so that any delays on clinic, the clinician can go and write that down, so that the patients will have a visual cue as to how long they might be having to wait, and that, I think, has reduced the amount of times that the patients go and interrupt the nursing staff to ask about delays. And moving forward, we're looking at I think we have another RPIW looking at the administrative side to get some further improvements into clinic. And hopefully in the future we might even be able to go paperless with a system to sort of a computerized system to let the nursing staff and our photographers know what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. And if we remove the notes from the system, then that will further speed up the patient flow through clinic.
Due to staffing issues, we have been unable to make the progress that we would have liked, but we are confident that by 120 days this will have decreased further. And the main challenges and frustrations have been around getting estates and response times to come and actually move our cupboards, and waiting for the print unit to actually print us Kanban cards. And I've learned one lesson from that is that I need to escalate if we're having difficulty. And we are currently at level 2 and are well on our way to level 3. So the Kanban cards in the rooms are working, and we have some visual prompts in place, but there's still a little more further work that we need to do around that.
Right. Well done. Really good progress, and I'm sure 120 days has seen further progress, but I think you should be really pleased with where we got to, and obviously in terms of the point about escalating with colleagues in other departments, I'm sure we can find some ways of overcoming obstacles collectively on that. So great. I'll hold questions for you until we've done the next one, and then we'll gather them all up. Okay? Great.
Thank you.
So